Welcome back to Real with L.A.M.E. This week we're going to be discussing the film noirs Detour and The Hitch-Hiker.
Hi, I'm Lex. I go by any pronouns.
Hi, I'm Ava. I go by any pronouns.
Hi, I'm Michaela. I go by she, her.
Hi, I'm Esther. I also go by she, her pronouns.
All right, so I'm just reading this off of Google. So Detour is about this guy named Al Roberts whose girlfriend leaves to go to Hollywood, and when he gets some money, he tries to hitchhike all the way to California from New York to join his girlfriend. In Arizona, he accepts a ride with Charles Haskell, but Haskell is killed during a storm, and he is like petrified by this, and so he pretends to be Haskell and takes his identity in his car, but comes upon this like femme fatale character named Vera who knows all about his true identity, and it just and he actually ends up strangling Vera accidentally, and this is all told from like after the fact of all of this happening. And so the other one, The Hitch-Hiker, released in 1953, is about Ray and Gilbert going on a fishing trip, and it goes downhill from there when this hitchhiker they pick up is like a serial killer named Emmett Myers. And so they try to plot an escape, but the hitchhiker has like an eye that never closes when he sleeps, makes it like impossible for them to tell when to run. And by the end of the film, Emmett Myers is eventually taken by the police, and they continue their life on afterwards.
I just want to mention directors really quick. The Hitchhiker is directed by, it's Ada Lupino, correct?
Yeah.
Did I say that right? And Detour is directed by, I actually don't know his first name, so if anyone wants to take Detours.
Edgar Ulmer.
Thanks. Detour is directed by Edgar Ulmer. Just want to make sure we got that out of the way, because that also like shows some of the differences. One's directed by a woman and one directed by a man.
I actually wanted to talk about that.
Go for it.
I think there's like a clear difference of the films, seeing that one was directed by a woman and one was directed by a man, because like Detour is like a very like, it's very film noir. Like it's like the femme fatale, like the woman that comes in and ruins everything because she's evil and she wants to ruin the guy's life. And then in Hitchhiker, there is no femme fatale, and instead it's almost like the villain is the femme fatale, but he's not a woman, obviously, but like he's the one that is like, they didn't know he was a killer when he got into their car, and then when they got into the car, turns out he's the killer, and then like they go through so much hell all because of this man, and it's kind of like he's the femme fatale, but instead it's a man. And it's like it's really wow, considering that so many film noirs have femme fatales. And then instead, the one directed by the woman, it is a male who is the femme fatale.
I don't think there's actually a single woman in the one directed by a woman.
One, I think. Like
there's
maybe
the
like
little girl.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
But that's not a woman. I mean, I'm sure she's a woman now, but that is a small child.
Like it's only mentioned of his wife. Like that's it, of their wives.
Right. And they're like leaving their wives to go on a trip together by themselves. Like, it's not
this is on topic, but slightly off topic. I think it's really about femme fatales, like in film noir. They very much remind me of, like, this is gonna sound so unrelated, but they very much remind me of the story of Pandora and Pandora's box, because like when they were creating Pandora, like her biggest sin was that she was really hot and really smart.
Yep.
And like that's not really a bad guy. That's just like a woman. It's just like how they exist in general.
It's just like how they think because they're smart and powerful, they're gonna be out to get you and ruin your life, because women can't be smart. Not that
I think they also have a quirk to them. Like, I don't know, I've seen online, like, now instead of femme fatale, it's more of like manic pixie dream girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like it's more like, like it's, oh my God, she's so quirky, she's so cool, but she's like untouchable, and like there's so much like mysterious energy around her, and like I don't know, I think that like can definitely like play into what Michaela was saying before.
Yeah.
Talking about like how it was directed by a woman, and also the fact that it was released, The Hitchhiker was released in 1953. The professor said that like a lot of the ones released after 1950 are more self-reflexive on the genre, and I think that definitely holds true, because I feel like most film noirs are in like an urban setting, but The Hitchhiker is like across like Mexico and like in the desert. And the choice of not having any women is also kind of self-reflexive, because I feel like even like if Emmett was a woman, or if Gil and Roy, I feel like if Gil and Roy were women, it would kind of be like this like violence against women that we've seen in films. And I think choosing not to have like in that case one of those characters be a woman, or like be like the wife or something of one of the characters, allows like for, I think, like the social commentary, I think, on like masculinity that happens in the film. And I think in general both of these films, like Detour with like just the femme fatale archetype in general, and like The Hitchhiker like without choosing not to have any female characters, like talking about masculinity, I think they both like talk about gender roles more specifically or more generally.
I think something else that I just noticed and I think is that obviously both of these noirs are car related, like they're all, and obviously like I feel like maybe not at this time period, but a lot of people in our generation are like, don't pick up strangers from the side of the road. That's probably not a good idea. And I honestly just don't think a woman would do it. I don't think there's a single woman out there who would be like, yeah, you see that man on the side of the road? Let me pick him up from the side of the road. No woman is going out of her way to do that. And I think that also plays into the fact that there isn't a lot of women in that film. I guess the only other woman in the film is the woman who dies at the very beginning of Hitchhiker. But you never see her face. You never like get any description of her.
Yeah. And I
You
think
hear her scream.
like them having like the little girl as kind of like the only like woman that's in the movie, and like she counts as an innocent bystander because I feel like she represents a lot of like innocence and purity. And when I don't know if it's Roy or Gilbert, but one of them like goes over and hugs her and like speaks to her in Spanish. I feel like Gilbert.
It's Gilbert because
Yeah.
Roy is the one driving, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So I think Gilbert is the one who speaks Spanish because they're always talking out of the passenger side.
Yeah. No, you're right. So when Gilbert like leans down and hugs a little girl and everything, and Emmett Myers is like, what did you say to her? Like it's all about like purity and like innocence and like protect yourself type thing. And so I feel like having this little girl like kind of represent that for the first time throughout that movie, because like the entire thing it's just like fear, and like you're waiting to happen. You're waiting to die basically, because he's saying, "Oh, I'm going to kill you eventually. We just don't know when." And so I think like that last glimmer of hope being represented by a female is like a very like pointed choice.
Another thing I wanted to discuss about how the two films are different is because in like Detour, like it's very film noir. Like all these coincidences keep happening to him, and it's like it's things that would never happen in real life. Like you would never accidentally get in a car with a man who died and then accidentally pick up the woman who knew the man and was insane and then accidentally kill her. Like
It's also weird that she's farther down the road than the guy.
Yeah.
Like that's a series
There's a lot of inconsistencies in these films. But
well, I think I remember him saying the reason why she was farther down the road is because she must have caught a ride when he was stopped trying to like when he was sleeping, because he slept at a hotel. That's how she got further ahead.
Okay.
Anyways, and then like at the start, like at the very start of Hitchhiker, we get that like little like, I don't know how to say it, like monologue or something of just like it just saying
I think
like
it's an interscreen.
interscreen of just
That
saying
might
like,
be incorrect. One second. I know it doesn't matter, but I'm gonna look it up because there is a name for that. And I know it, which is annoying.
but anyways, we get this text that says like this is based off true stuff, like this could happen to anyone, this could happen in real life. And I wanted to mention how like Catherine Bashlow in Blue Steel, she said that B movies are inspiring because they delve into darkness and talk about demons that exist in all of us. And I think that's a very like I think that's very prominent in Hitch-Hiker because we can see that like we are bystanders in our own life and that this could be happening at any point and we don't realize that darkness that's out there. Like the person next to us could be a serial killer and we wouldn't even know. Sorry, lost my voice there. We wouldn't even know. And like it's just a huge contrast between the two because one really shows how like a bunch of coincidences happen and it just doesn't seem realistic to the viewer, but then the Hitch-Hiker seems way more realistic and it seems like, wow, this could happen to me. And I think that's another reason why people are so scared of like hitchhikers nowadays and won't pick up people because they realize, oh yeah, this person could be a murderer, so maybe I shouldn't give this random person a ride because I could end up dead.
I think there's also like several instances like in real life of hitchhikers like killing people. There's this one, I don't remember his name, but like this one in the 70s called like the Freeway Killer or something, and he like was hitchhiking and like killed a bunch of people. And I think just in general the concept of hitchhiking is what dates these movies. But like, you know, like the character, I think like the character development and stuff is obviously more like contemporary and like complicated, but you couldn't remake these movies because no one's hitchhiking. No one, like if I saw someone on the side of the road trying to get a ride from me, I would keep driving.
No.
I bouncing off of what you just said, Lex, I in the beginning of the film in The Hitchhiker, I took a picture of the scene because I don't really know how to describe it, but it was basically like a montage of like newspaper articles about and stuff like that. And like I don't know if anybody remembers this, but I thought that was a really cool representation of an innocent bystander because it's kind of showing like the general public as well as the police are an innocent bystander, but it's not putting it in your face so much that it's like the police saying, oh my god, we don't know where he is. Like these articles are just like a cool like visual representation of like being in the dark, trying to figure it out, and like giving a collage to like add stress to the situation and show like, hey, we really need to like identify who this killer is. Like these people have been being killed over and over again. So I thought that like it was like definitely notable to look at like not only the dialogue that shows like innocent bystanders, but also like the visual representation.
That was a really good point.
To what I was looking up, it's either I think it's all technically called an open and crawl, but it's not moving, so I don't want to call it that. Because that's like in Star Wars. I still don't know the answer. I still am not figuring out the right Google terms to figure it out.
It says the car might have been yours or that young couple across the aisle, which is like pointed. It's like, this could be you. Watch out.
Watch out.
And it could be. The other key difference, and I don't know if anyone else touched on it, is that and we'll probably get more into it when you start really in-depth discussing the innocent bystander, but the fact that the hitchhiker is told as the crime is being committed, like obviously at the beginning they're like, this is a crime that's based on true stories, that like it could have happened to you, but Detour is told first person after the event, so some of the innocent bystanders might seem more suspicious because we're getting the story from the person who committed the crime, so like they might be more suspicious or seem to know more about what happened than in The Hitchhiker.
Because like I do think that was a good point because like at the start it's really intriguing because he's sitting there like giving us like this voiceover everyone else at the restaurant has no clue that this is going through this man's head. We watched like the entire film, and we just witnessed like 2 deaths and a bunch of chaos, and he's just sitting here telling us all. And then to every other bystander that's just in the restaurant walking around, they just think he's some crazy guy who doesn't like the song that was just playing.
Yeah. I also like
they just
that.
think he's insane.
I also really like that, like, there's this shift in that moment of like lighting on
Mhm.
him, where it's like, that's not how lighting works. What are you doing, you silly guy? That's not how that would happen.
It's like,
It gets so dark and all you can see is like his
Yeah.
eyes.
and it's all broody.
Yeah,
Yep.
he got real broody real fast, and you're like, dude, it's just a song. Calm down.
Like calm down, you're
It's not that
crazy,
deep.
man.
It's not that deep, my guy.
It's not that deep.
Yeah.
And then we find out it is that deep.
I think having him narrate the film, like obviously, like I think what you said, Ava, like is what makes him an unreliable narrator in some sense. But also in The Hitchhiker, the events happening in real time, like I mean, obviously in film noir, something that usually happens is like going back and the guy narrating it. Like in Double Indemnity, I'm pretty sure Walter Neff does that too. So I think that's just another way that this, like The Hitchhiker, is kind of self-reflexive of the film noir genre, even though like at the time, like this wasn't like an official name for it, but like I think like kind of changing the formula while still keeping the key aspects of film noir is what The Hitchhiker did.
And it just helps The Hitchhiker feel so more realistic, because like Detour didn't feel realistic at all. Like I didn't feel like that could happen to me. But Hitchhiker, everything happened in real time, and like perspective. Again, I felt like I was like in there. I felt scared for them. I was always like, every time we turned a corner, I was like, they're gonna die. They're gonna get shot. One of them's gonna die. One of them is not gonna make it to the end. And then they both did. And it just like, it really gets you. I feel like I really get more into Hitchhiker than I do in Detour. I find Detour more enjoyable, but I think Hitchhiker is like more in, like it pulls you in more as a viewer because it's so much more realistic, and it feels like this could happen to you.
Yeah, 100%. I also think like they both kind of keep, even though Lex was saying before, like Hitchhiker kind of like breaks the barrier for what like traditional noir should look like. I think that they still have a lot of like elements that do line up between Detour and Hitchhiker. And so one of them that I noticed was like the police and like the general public are always going to be the bystanders no matter what. Like that's a given, you know, like the police are searching for you know, like they're not searching for Roberts, but they're searching for Haskell's body and stuff like that. And then, you know, like when Vieira says like, oh, you should turn into him, whatever, that's kind of like trying to trick the general public and like trying to trick the police. And, you know, but also like with the Hitchhiker, I think like the police, like all of the Mexican police that they're walking by, like even the people that they go through the checkpoint and like he's like, keep driving, don't stop, don't talk, like whatever. I think like all of that just plays into like, you know, and how like when they're kind of like trying to identify where he's gonna go next, where Emmett Myers is gonna go next. I think like that all just plays into like that's always gonna be a recurring, like the police and the general public are always gonna be in the dark until the very end.
I think also this might be completely incorrect, and you guys can be like, Ava, you're crazy. But I think it's also interesting to look at it as, at least in Detour and towards the beginning of The Hitchhiker, that I'll talk about Detour first, I guess, that Al Roberts at the very beginning is a bystander, like of like his story, he is the bystander. And there's like this evolution of like going from the bystander to like even the bystanders that we see, they have like this revelation, especially in Hitchhiker, like the people who give him beer are like, oh shit, wait, that's the guy. I think also like Roy and Gilbert are kind of bystanders to Emmett, even though they're main characters in their films. They're bystanders to what is happening to them. They can't break free from the role of bad things happening to them in a way. But again, you can say, Ava, what are you talking about? That's not at all correct. I won't take offense.
I think I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I feel like especially at the start, Roy, like they're both like they're both bystanders because they're just going on a fishing trip, driving, and they're just like, oh yeah, let's give this perfectly fine person a ride. Because like you're a bystander, you don't know what's going on, you don't
You
know
don't know what he
its
looks like.
criminal history, and then them being a bystander is what got them into like this issue in the first place.
Yeah.
And just like I feel like most often film noirs, well, not most often, but like in these two film noirs, being a bystander is what got these people into the mess in the first place.
Being
I feel
unsuspicious
like that's
in general.
Yeah.
I think that's an case in these two films, because I feel like in the film he showed clips from the double, what is it?
Double Indemnity.
Yeah.
In that film, there's no bystander who's becoming the victim. I guess the husband is becoming the victim and isn't aware, but like there's more planning going into things.
Like
I
more
think
often than not, it's like
there's not a whole lot of planning.
Yeah.
And I feel like in noir, the crimes are supposed to fit this like high crime, like highly specialized, really difficult to get away with crimes. These guys are just hitchhikers, and bad shit keeps happening to them. Like,
yeah,
or they're just bad people. It's not.
These are both like different types of like the usual film noir, especially Hitch-Hiker. Hitch-Hiker is especially different than the usual film noir.
Yeah.
Talking about Detour for a second, there is sort of like the planned crime in a sense, in the fact that they're trying to sell Haskell's car, and that doesn't work out when Al tries to sell it to the insurance guy. No, not the insurance, the guy who owns that owns the car place, and he like asks about the insurance, and then like Al freaks out and he thinks like, oh no, what am I gonna do? Like, and he obviously from his perspective it's gonna seem like this guy is like really suspicious of him, but you know, it's just an innocent bystander. And Vera so happens to come in and like save his freaking nervous ass from this interaction.
Can we talk about the scene afterwards where they go to get food and then they're both loudly talking about how they're gonna like pose as this old dying man's son to get money and inheritance, and how like nobody else around seems to notice that they're talking about this? Like the bystanders eating right next to them in their own cars do not hear them.
I think there's like has to be, while I agree that that's a funny moment, there's also there has to be like a level of disbelief. Like they need to get things across to the audience that aren't the bystanders. Like it's just like,
another instant where the bystanders are just being bystanders. You don't know. You could be eating at McDonald's and the car behind you is like talking about like their next murder victim.
Yeah.
Just being a bystander once again.
I think that all reinforces the idea that like, especially in Hitch-Hiker, like this can happen to you. And like I think like during this era of like when it first like erupted as like a genre, I think like that was the main like selling point. Like they're trying to make it relatable, not to the point where you're like scared to death to get into your car, but to the point where it's like, okay, like let's think about these things before we like, you know, delve into them. And I think like all of these aspects, even though they look funny to us today, like they definitely have like a purpose.
I also just like, while I do think they're self-reflexive, I think there's like key characters in both of these films, like characters that are in noir films that are missing from these. Like there are like these flashbacks. I'm going to talk about Hitch-Hiker more specifically. There's like these flashes to this like Harrison Ford looking detective. Did anyone notice that that guy looked a lot like Harrison Ford, or was that just me?
I think a little bit. I see what you're saying.
I don't know the actor or the character name. I'm just going to refer to him as the Harrison Ford looking detective. There's like flashbacks to him, but there's no PI. There's no like private eye that's like,
no.
There's also like not like a lot of allusions to sex in these.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that.
Especially Hitch-Hiker. There's
more in Detour for sure. Well, there's
more in Detour, but there's
definitely one implied scene in Detour. Like it's like a fade to black, and then Vera wakes up on the couch and he's like looking out the window. I was like, yeah, you guys definitely just had sex.
I don't know. Maybe. I thought that there were like moments like she was like really drunk, right? And she would like touch his shoulder or whatever, and then he was kind of like brushing her off. So I don't actually know if that happened, but I think like that, like what we were talking about in class, like the transition, like because of the like rules that they have in Hollywood, like they couldn't actually show it, but if
Yeah.
they, yeah.
I think
But I think,
film
like,
noir in
there's
general, you
like
can.
I feel like like he mentioned that the PI is the one that's like sleeping around with everyone. And that character just like truly didn't exist in either of these films for me.
Well, for anybody, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, they weren't there. Like
Yeah.
Vera,
And
like just was
yeah.
for one person and was kind of like more of a femme fatale than an inside person, you know.
And I just think that's like a really interesting choice for like our week on genre, to choose a genre and two films from it that don't really fit into the genre in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the same time fit. Like it's really
Mhm.
it's really conflicting.
It's a very
like,
niche
very-
two films he picked to like
Yeah,
both
very
fit
niche.
and not fit. And I get that like it's his job and like it's his specialty.
Especially in Detour, there were a lot of moments that I saw where the audience like was provoked to like feel really bad for like either Haskell or like Roberts or whatever. And I think that even though like we are not an innocent bystander because we are the viewer and we know what's going on, I think like the aspect of like audience plays a big role because like we are the audience, like we're watching it and like we like feel bad for him and we can feel his panic when Vieira's like accusing him of killing Haskell and stuff like that. And we want to scream like, no, 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 he didn't do it. He didn't do it. And I think like even though like we don't count in the point of like innocent bystander, but we just like as a viewer, like it's provoking us to want to be like, no, like help him, like whatever. So I don't know. I thought that
Making
was
us
like,
want to get involved.
yeah, exactly. And like
Yeah.
I think that also like plays like hand in hand with like seeing the innocent bystanders and being like the car next to you is literally a serial killer, like help, like. So I don't know. I just thought that was cool.
That was a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this week's question is going to be, if you were in a film noir, what character stereotype would you fill? Like, would you be a PI, a femme fatale? I don't want to say victim, but like victim, or the suspect or the person committing the crime. Those are like the four main roles, right?
There's also like you could be like the criminal mastermind, or like
that's the what I was looking for.
I have really bad luck in life. Like I have extremely bad luck and a lot of bad things happen to me. So I think it'd be the person that'd be getting like really effed over because I just have
unintentional criminal mastermind like Al.
No,
would you then go home and shoot your wife?
I'm not gonna kill my wife. Maybe. But I feel like a lot of bad things happen to me and I naturally get bad things, which is why I had to get an evil eye. But anyways, I just feel like I'd be one of those people that would just like, oh yeah, I accidentally murdered somebody because I got like just bad shit happened to me. That's what I think for myself.
Lex, do you want to go next?
Well, okay, so I would want to be the femme fatale because I would love to be evil. But I feel like but realistically, I might just be like a bystander or something. But I would try to be the femme fatale.
You'd try to manifest that?
Yeah, I'm manifesting right now.
You would try to like manipulate a man into committing murder and like doing illegal crimes. Yeah.
That's like Gatekeep Girl Boss.
Okay.
Yes.
I would want to be the criminal mastermind. That sounds so fun. Even if I get caught, it's like we had a good run. That's so fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Not that I would even know how to do that, but like, you know, not like murdering though. I wouldn't murder somebody. I would just like maybe like do a heist.
Mild inconvenience people.
Yeah, exactly. Mildly piss people off, and then I'm like, oh my god.
I feel like that's worse. I would rather be like
murdered. You'd rather be murdered than
I would like murder like bad people, like people like you know what I mean. You know, like those movies where like they murder like serial killers.
You'd be like a vigilante or an anti-hero,
like Batman.
Yes, but I need to answer the question.
Batman.
Yes, but
we'll come back to this.
We'll come back to
the vigilante.
Batman. So that was a segue.
That would have been a great segue if I'd answered first. I'd want to Well, we can still segue that way because I would want to be, if I could be, I would want to be the PI, which I think is more of a vigilante role in a lot of films.
By the way,
like
Professor,
Batman.
let us know.
Yeah, Professor, answer
Let
our
us know which
questions.
one you
We
wanna
asked
be.
these questions to get your answer, and you didn't answer our question last
Answer
time.
our question.
Professor Mannon, we expect an answer. Okay, good. Batman is Batman, specifically the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy, is the modern noir that we decided that we were going to talk about for a minute or two. Mostly because like it fit, most of us had seen it and it fit most closely with what we thought film noir in modern time would look like.
I agree.
Lex, anything you'd like to add?
I think Catwoman in general is like a femme fatale archetype, and Batman is obviously like the hard-boiled PI, and I think his relationship with Catwoman in general is like the way that he gets involved into the story, but he's also sort of like this kind of detached character in a sense. And I guess like Joker is the criminal mastermind.
I think if you're looking at the Dark Knight, but if you're looking at Batman Begins, it's definitely Ra's al Ghul. Is that how you say? Yes, I was right. Yes. But there's also always like these underlings, like Dr. Crane, Jonathan Crane, as Scarecrow being another criminal mastermind, as like a separate entity, as like there's in the Batman movies, there's always like two issues happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, man, pick a struggle. Like,
Yeah.
stop trying to do two things at once. Never ends well for you.
Yeah, I agree. I am completely obsessed with the Matt Reeves like newer Batman movie. And I think like that the direction that one went in was different than like the past Batman movies, because Bruce Wayne isn't depicted as more of like a wealthy, like, you know what I mean, like a kind of like I don't know what the word for it is, like
Playboy. He's not like a playboy in that one.
Playboy. He's really broody and emo and like I'm so broken, I have a broken little soul, and like that is so different from like the past depictions of like the hero or like the vigilante. And I think also the depiction of Zoe Kravitz as like the Selena Kyle, or like the kind of figure, I think like instead of her being like evil, she's not really evil. Like she's more of like, I've had a rough past and like I'm trying to fix it and like I'm doing what I can type thing. And she doesn't do it in a way that's like more evil, you know?
I think that I feel like Batman, obviously he was always a detective and stuff like that, but I think recently, I would say as of recently, I would classify the newer movies as more film noir, like the ones that were filmed in like the 60s, like I want to say Michael Caine, but he's not Batman. What is
Adam West? Is that what, something like that? Hold on.
No, I'm thinking of another Michael. He was in the Spider-Man movie. He played that guy.
Yeah.
The Vulture. He played the Vulture. Not even remember
Michael Keaton?
Michael Keaton. Like Michael Keaton's Batman, George Clooney's Batman. They were all like comedy or comical. They both had like this level of like funniness to them, but like the Nolan trilogy and the newer trilogy or the newer movies, they have this like grittier side to them, and they fit the noir characteristics more closely than the prior Batman.
I feel like they have a lot of elements of like gangster films, like because he was talking about gangster films in class, like it's kind of like this underworld that exists in America, and like that is Gotham City. Like Gotham City is full of like crime and alcohol and drugs and like all of these like really like bad criminals and stuff like that, and it can never seem to be fixed no matter how many fucking police you see throughout the entire movie. But like it's just, I think like they pull elements from like other like subgenres of film noir as like a way to kind of like
Yeah.
blend. Yeah.
Also, my favorite random fact about Batman is that Gotham City is in New Jersey.
Oh.
And that makes
Is it
so much sense that
It
is a
does.
New Jersey city.
I'm from New Jersey, and that kind of does. It's comparable to Newark, possibly.
I feel like it's
I
like it very heavily pulled upon the idea of like, especially earlier in US history, that anything was legal in New Jersey. So they were like, fuck it, let's just make this criminal empire in New Jersey, which I just think is like a very
I have one film I want to mention that I just remembered. Has anyone seen The Black Dahlia?
no.
Okay. So it's really interesting. It's based off of a murder, like unsolved murder case, but I just want to mention it because it's a film noir as well. And it's like this guy, there's a femme fatale, like it's a whole thing, but I won't get into it because we're limited on time. But I do want to say it is related to Batman because I'm pretty sure the Joker is inspired from the Black Dahlia.
Yeah, you said that, and then I was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about, and then I realized the crime.
Yeah, because she got
the cut, yes.
the cut smile on her face, and I just think like it like it's a film noir and it relates to Batman, but yeah, pretty much it's just like the classic like the film that was created based off of the murder. It's like it's just a film noir. Like there's a femme fatale. This man is just going through it, losing everything he cares about and loves. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I just vividly remember that part, and it relates to Batman.
Unless anyone else has other points, I want to do some other honorable mentions of like modern stuff that might be film noir. 2 of these are Ryan Gosling movies. He has a type.
He has a role type. He's trying to break out of it. That's why he played Ken.
We got Drive from 2011, Blade Runner 2049. Both of those are which he's in. The Matrix has some like film noir aesthetics. I'm not gonna get into it too much. But that too. And this is not. I am outing myself as an anime watcher right now, but this is like a love letter to film noir, basically, and it's also a space western. If anyone likes like animated stuff, yes, I love.
I haven't watched it. I just knew exactly from the description she was giving exactly what.
That's what so funny. That is hilarious.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Sorry. You should watch Cowboy Bebop.
Sorry for stealing your thunder. Sorry for stealing your thunder.
Okay.
All right. So absolutely just took that away from Lex.
But also, just like one other character that we wanted to mention from TV or film being from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, or is it Spider-Man Across Spider-Verse?
It's both the Spider-Verse movie.
He very briefly appears in the second one, but Spider-Noir, which is obviously a noir character, he's the Spider-Man set in the noir universe for Spider-Man, so like obviously like we wanted to just give him an honorable mention of being in noir.
So getting into trivia, this is gonna be something new we're doing this week. So my first question for you guys, the professor, who probably already knows this information, because like he's like a film noir buff. And whoever happens to find this video, all this was found off of like IMDb. So my first question is, how long do you guys think it took to shoot Detour? And I have several answers for you. I have A, 1 week, B, 67 days, C, 3 months, and D, 28 days. I can repeat that if you guys need.
I'm gonna guess D.
I'm gonna guess D as well. Do you say D?
I said B.
I'm gonna say D because I feel like he was talking in class about the fact that like, sorry, Michaela, you guess, and then I'll explain my reasoning.
I'm just gonna go really obscure and say like, I know, A, 1 week, just to be fun.
I feel like it's either A or D because I feel like it was a shorter amount of time. In the clip he showed from Detour, he mentioned that like they were on such a time crunch that even though they were driving in the wrong direction, somebody just was like, fuck it, we're just gonna switch the way the direction of the film is going.
That too, I was watching it and I was like, oh my god, he showed us this.
We saw
Yeah, you showed us
this.
this.
Okay, so Ava is right. It is D, 28 days, but I want to talk about A because there was this myth going around that Detour was shot in only 1 week, but that's not true.
I'm pretty sure that's physically impossible to shoot an entire film in a week.
Oh yeah,
Especially if you're going across the desert, like what? No.
That makes no sense.
Sorry guys, I wanted to be quirky.
It's okay. It was a chance. You took it.
We got number 2. Which criminal was the inspiration for Emmett Myers in The Hitch-Hiker? A. Lloyd Gomez, B. Billy Cook, C. Vincent Mangiano, and D. Theodore L. Teddy Rowe.
I know none of these names, which like makes sense, but at the same time.
I don't
Maybe
know.
Teddy Rowe?
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Wait, what was I kind of want to say A. Was that the Gomez?
Yeah.
I want to say A.
That also does sound.
Okay. So none of you are correct.
Dang.
E. Billy Cook. And also the other 3 people, I just searched up murderers in the 1950s and I just put them as multiple choice.
Teddy did sound familiar, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Wait,
just
Most of
searched
them
so-
sounded
random
familiar.
murderers.
I'm not
Wait,
even gonna like
so-
pretend any of them sounded familiar.
so who is Billy? Billy Cook.
He like killed I mean he's obviously the he like killed a bunch of people across like
By hitchhiking? There has to be like multiple hitchhiking murderers.
Yeah.
That can't be,
Oh,
like,
there's one in the 1970s called the Freeway Killer.
Yeah, I knew
Billy
that
Cook
one.
was
Like if you had
America's
said
Free
that,
Killer.
I would have been like, I'm aware of that one, but that's has to be later.
Okay. Last question. Which actor ended up going to prison for involuntary manslaughter after this film?
Wait, which
What?
film?
Oh, for Detour.
I
That's
just want to make
so
sure I knew
funny.
which film we were talking
It would
about.
be so funny if it was Al. It would be so funny if it was him.
Okay, so our choices.
Can you also
A,
say the actors and the character they play? Just
I
because...
no, I have that written down. So
Okay, just want to
got-
make sure because I don't want to like be guessing and be like, I don't know who this person plays.
Okay, so we got A, Tom Neal, which is Al. We got B, Ann Savage, who was Vera. We got C, Edmund McDonald, which is Charles Haskell. And we got D, which is Claudia Drake, who plays Sue Harvey.
I just don't think it's a woman.
That's sexist. No, I'm joking.
No, I feel like a woman would get away with it.
That's sexist. No.
Wait, was it involuntary?
Yes.
I kind of think maybe Sue, but also
Actually, no, then I do think it is a woman. And
I
Jamie-
maybe it's
want to say whoever played Vera just because it fits her character.
I want to
That'd be
say
fun.
Vera as well.
maybe Sue. I'm gonna go with Sue, but my second
It's
is
Al. It's fucking Al.
that's so funny. That is so funny, but
He accidentally shot and killed his wife.
How do you
That was
accident?
not an accident.
But it's involuntary manslaughter. That's what he was charged with. I was
It's
like,
not a
what?
fucking accident. There's no way.
There's
Okay,
no way
so
that was an
you
accident. He's like,
accidentally
"Oops, I
choke
shot
a
her."
woman to death in a movie, and then you accidentally shoot your wife.
Shout
Thank
her
you
out.
so much for tuning into our video this week. I hope you enjoyed it.
Like and
Lex,
subscribe.
thank you.
Oh my god, what is that? What is happening?
If you do thumbs up, I think that happens.